VI Caribbean Connection, Headline News on WSCA Radio and FocusVI.com. We'll be back with more after this.
What is a census, you ask? It is a count every 10 years of all the people living in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and you should make sure that you're in that count. The 2020 census is currently being conducted to get a count of the entire USVI population. The results are confidential and help shape our future. It affects funding for our schools, roads, hospitals, and emergency services such as police, firefighters, and EMTs. If they have not already done so, a census taker will visit your home. When they come, participate by answering all questions asked. Census takers are trained to conduct interviews following the CDC and local health guidelines during this pandemic. Your assistance is needed to ensure an accurate count. Help us get our fair share of funding. Complete the 2020 census and be counted. Shape your future. Start here. A public service message brought to you by Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Sigma Theta Omega Chapter St. Thomas St. John, and Rho Omicron Chapter of the University of the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas Campus.
First Bank is always close to home, and now we've returned to regular business hours at most of our branches. However, we encourage you to use our 24/7 digital services like digital banking platform, mobile first deposit, online mortgage, and online credit card. For the latest information and branch hours, visit the First Bank VI Facebook page or www.onefirstbank.com. We'll get through this together. Member FDIC and USVI only. Digital banking is subject to First Bank's terms, conditions, and restrictions.
General Bodo and the slaves them coming. Freedom is what they shouting. From the pandate, they drum them beating. The whole land outside, I could hear them coming. So long in slavery, so long controlling.
Hi, this is Stephen Smokey Fred. It's another election year, and yes, I'm running again. I just want to help. So I'm inviting you to listen to my bi-weekly political broadcast beginning Tuesday, June 23rd, right here at WSTA, 10 a.m. in the morning. Tune in as I explain to you why I'm the best candidate for the job and my solutions to the many problems we are facing here at home. Remember, Tuesday, my bi-weekly political broadcast at 10 a.m. right here on WSTA, the #1 radio station. This is Stephen Smokey Fred. See you then.
Now that it's all clear, emancipation's here. Get slavery out of the way.
Smokey Fred for Senator, vote him in November, proven leader.
Paid for by the committee to elect Stephen Smokey Fred to the 34th Legislature.
Smokey Fred for Senator, vote him in November, proven leader.
While facial coverings can simply be uncomfortable and can make breathing difficult, the CDC and the government of the U.S. Virgin Islands recommend using masks when you are out in public to stop the spread of COVID-19. Wearing a mask is a requirement to enter any business in the USVI. Use your mask safely with appropriate hand hygiene. Check for holes or tears. Cover your face and mouth snugly. Make sure you can breathe easily. And be extra careful not to touch the front of your mask and any part of your face while removing it. Wash your hands and your mask after each use. And when you can, please stay at home and leave only for brief and essential errands. Avoid going out on really hot days when breathing can be difficult. Use a cloth mask or homemade covering made of light, breathable fabric. And take a break if you are ever feeling breathless. Remember, masks protect you and they protect others. As we all work together to fight COVID-19, tell your friends, tell your family, and remind our visitors that no mask means no service.
Hi, this is Yolanda Bryan, First Lady of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Thank you, on behalf of a grateful community, to the men and women on the front lines every day fighting the spread of COVID-19. We're also grateful to you, our family, friends, and neighbors for following the guidelines of our government and health experts during these times. You have saved lives. Now it is time to enter the next phase of our path to a new normal. Governor Albert Bryan Jr. and Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach have asked us, with caution and care, to reopen our doors. Opening the economy, getting Virgin Islanders back to work, and welcoming visitors again to our shores is a necessary next step. But let's remain consistent and vigilant while continuing to follow the guidelines during this open doors phase. We are depending on you to do your part.
And as before, we always want to be ahead of what is going on. And seeing individuals traveling from specific states, Arizona, Texas, Florida, those are some hot spots that we have been just really keeping a close eye on. We continue our efforts to guard against an outbreak in this Lime Tree Bay facility. And after an emergency meeting this weekend with the management of Lime Tree, we have implemented even increased measures in and around the refinery in order to keep the employees and our community safe. Effective immediately, there will be a temporary hold on all incoming travel. We decided that this weekend of all incoming new contractors coming into the territory. We have also imposed controls on the movement of individuals in and out of the man camp. They have a considerable amount of people at that facility right now, and we just want to limit them from moving in and out of the community, thereby limiting the spread even more if we have a situation there. We must say that there has been some people inside the camp as well as outside the camp that we have identified as positives, and all of those people are being quarantined at this time as of from last week. We're just trying to make sure that we do everything to keep people safe. The Virgin Islands Police Department is strictly enforcing these controls in conjunction with the Lime Tree Bay facility security and has a unit stationed at the gate to control that ingress and egress out of the refinery. In addition to these new requirements, we continue to aggressively contact trace the COVID positive individuals and have made contact with certain establishments where they have recently visited and required that those establishments notify the patrons of potential exposure, as we have done consistently in the past when there has been any risk of infection to you, the public. We have been working, we've had additional resources working with Pro Health through the emergency center that we have, urgent care center that we have adjacent to the Lime Tree facility, as well as working with the security, health officials, and safety officials in Lime Tree who have been helping us to contact trace and make sure that we track down every single individual that it may be exposed. We've also extended that contact tracing to Lime Tree individuals who have families that have come for vacation to the Virgin Islands to make sure we're getting every single touch of anywhere this COVID virus may have been in contact with people of the community. I told you on Thursday that we're going to have some new travel requirements. So along with the increased measures at the Lime Tree Bay facility, we are also increasing the screening of incoming travelers, particularly those originating from Arizona, Florida, and Texas. And when I say originating from, this is if your place of residence is one of those three states, we're requiring you we're implementing a new policy that will require you to get a negative PCR test 72 hours before you embark and come to the Virgin Islands, or a positive antibody test, which will mean that you have had the virus already and that you have antibodies that will last probably like 6 months. The test cannot be older than 6 months. We should have that as we're well young into the age of COVID. So that's a negative PCR test within 72 hours or a positive antibody test indicating that you had already had the virus. If you cannot produce this negative test result, of course, we cannot turn you around in the airport, but you will be subject to a 14-day quarantine. Our historical data that we have, and we looked at this, is showing that we have minimal people arriving from Arizona and Texas. 16% of our visitors come from Miami, and 31% of those seem to be originating out of New York, which is showing very low levels of spread right now. Their test is like 1% of the people they're testing are showing positive for COVID. This current travel policy will be in effect for the next 2 weeks. At that time, we will look at it again to determine whether we need to add more states to that or decrease from the number of states that we have. This is another increase in our restrictions, of course, but it is out of the utmost caution for our community and for our guests. I must note, though, that so far we've only had three tourists that have tested positive for the virus since June 1 when we opened. We as locals need to be vigilant about our family and friends returning home and insist that they get tested before they come, and then when they come, limit their interaction with the community and quarantine for 14 days, no matter where they're coming from. One of the things that we have observed in going through this process is that the tourists come and they stay mainly isolated. But when our local people come home, they go to see auntie, they go see their cousin, they mix with their friends, they patron the local establishments. They have more of an intermixing with our population, which is an opportunity for spread. So we got to remember that every little bit of security we do helps, and any precautionary measure. At worst, it can't hurt. So continue to wear your mask. And I know a lot of people are out there are very anxious about what we're doing. But the one thing that we can say over the last month so far is that the no mask, no service policy is working. And I'll continue to tell you, if at all possible, wear your mask. I mean, frankly honest with you, the only reason why we don't have a universal mask everywhere you go once you're outside your house is because there's no way to realistically enforce that. So I'm asking you, the public, to just impose it on yourself. Wear your mask wherever you go. You leave an establishment, wash your hands. You go to an establishment, wash your hands. Make sure that you keep yourself clean, you keep your family COVID-free and restricted. You are always safer at home. You're always safer at home. Remember that. You don't have to go to the beach. You don't have to go to any bars. You don't have to go to any restaurants. So always remember you're always safer at home. This recent spike in the COVID positive case in the territory is alarming. Yes, but realistically, this is what we have been preparing for the last 3 months. This is our test, the true test to see if we can get through a surge. We built up our capacity and are in much better position to handle the evolution of this virus now than we were in early March. We continue to find ways to expand our testing capacity and bring more tests. We have more beds, we have more ventilators, and more data on how to control the spread and battle these surges. We also have the capacity to contact trace better, and that will improve even more as we move along. Rest assured that the safety and the health of Virgin Islanders is our number one priority over anything else. And if we need to shut down, we will. We will not hesitate. But in the face of adversity, panicking saves no one. We have a deliberate and a vigilant approach to stop the spread of this virus in the community and navigate a way so that our people in our community can continue to take care of their families and their loved ones. Remember again, it is always safer at home. Wear your mask, wash your hands frequently, and remind others to do the same. We have made it this far, and we will continue to move forward, managing and making the decisions for the betterment and the protection of our community. At a final note, I just want to say that in commemoration of emancipation and our liberations from kings and kingdoms, we have removed the picture of King Frederick from the head of Government House. That picture will be replaced at the head of the ballroom with our last appointed and first elected Governor Melvin Evans. The picture of King Frederick has been removed to another location within the building in order that we may honor our liberation as a people who are governed by themselves and are free to make the choices that will make the Virgin Islands better every single day.
Education is everyone's responsibility, so understandably, to reopen schools this year, this upcoming year, 2020-2021, we're taking a different approach because unlike past years, this year is very different. And we have a reopening of schools task force specifically to engage boots on the ground people in schools, boots on the ground, health professionals. So this task force is made up of a variety of internal and external stakeholders with one ultimate goal in mind, to make sure that our students, staff, and visitors to our campuses are safe and that our students continue learning. That's for sure. I'd like to share with the public the variety of individuals. We have teachers on the task force. We have our student leaders on the task force. We have health professionals from the Department of Health, our Emergency Management Office, VITEMA, as well as support groups from the Department of Education. You know, school busing is very important. Transportation is very important. That's a challenge and a hurdle that we have to make sure, a barrier rather, that we have to move out of the way to ensure that education takes place. Also, school lunch. We have representatives from school lunch. Good health, good nutrition is always important. So it's a well diverse task force, but we are making sure that we stay committed and we ask the right questions and come up with the right solutions to make sure that our students have a rich experience come August, given the fact that it is a different year. Parents, I ask that you keep up with the Department of Education and our announcements because it is very important. As I mentioned, the school year will look different. And a part of that is the way we register our students. Many parents have experienced that already. We have an increase in online submittal, online services and programs, and orientations at the start of the school year will look very differently, and it will be online. Now, we've had several Zoom, Teams, and other platforms that we've been maximizing, and we've had great success with those. As in partnership with the Department of Health, we want to make sure to reduce the amount of in-person interaction and definitely not create large crowds. So as much as we can, we'll work very hard to make sure that we are providing the services that we are responsible for and making sure that our programs to our parents and students are successful, and make sure that the online support is timely and it meets the needs of our students and our families. So orientation, we can expect some form of online services. We at the Department of Education, we're interested in developing the whole child, and play and good nutrition is a part of that. And at this time, we're adhering to our CDC rules, which tells us that commonly used areas such as our cafeteria will not be allowed to be used. So they'll be closed. We'll have to close those off. However, we're creative people at the Department of Education. You know, we operate schools and we have to get creative. So we have various options for our students to continue to have nutritious, balanced meals. And depending on the campus, some students will be allowed to walk and 6 feet, practicing social distancing, and get their lunch, breakfast or lunch. And others will be met at the classroom. The breakfast or lunch will be provided to them. So that is a service that we intend to continue to make sure that our students' minds are filled and ready and enriched for learning. And our playgrounds is another commonly used area that we have to have the proper tools and sanitizations for. If we don't have those, then of course we cannot allow any use of those. Speaking about that, the proper sanitization, if I may, we have a number of protective equipment for our students and staff that we're procuring we received our COVID-19 funds. So we have different age groups within our student population, and our earliest learners, for example, our kindergartners, our preschoolers, we could expect them to use more so a device similarly to a tablet.
Okay.
And of course, our older students, our senior students, it will be expected that they're using laptops, for example, to make sure that they have access to the various platforms, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, so that they can get their academic work done.
We'll be back with VIPD updates after this.
Attention contractors, homeowners, and those preparing for home repairs. Great news for you. St. Thomas now has its own Galvalume factory. VI Galvalume Factory, located at Four Winds Plaza behind the dry cleaners. First, VI Galvalume is the only Galvalume provider in St. Thomas with DPNR required 24-gauge materials. Next, at VI Galvalume, your panels are made 43 inches wide, the widest on island, and to any length required. Customers are welcomed to be unique, as panels are available in a wide variety of colors, and colors can be customized as well. Enjoy customized drip edges, ridge caps, and rake edges, to list a few. Best of all, VI Galvalume boasts the quickest turnaround time, as orders can be made available within hours or 24 hours at max. Open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., weekends by orders or request. Just call 340-513-0058, 347-457-8410. Take advantage of 5% off your order by indicating code 1340. VI Galvalume Factory, covering the VI one roof at a time.
Police Commissioner Trevor A. Vellner and the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety announced the launch of their High Visibility Enforcement Campaign beginning July 1st and ending September 30th. High visibility enforcement is designed to deter people from driving after consuming alcoholic beverages, controlled substances, and prescription medication. The Virgin Islands Police Department will be increasing the number of law enforcement officers to protect the lives and residents and visitors in the territory. You will see increased enforcement on the roadways, conducting zero-tolerance comprehensive sobriety roadside checkpoints to detect and apprehend those who drive impaired. In fiscal year 2019, the Virgin Islands experienced a total of 4,722 collisions territory-wide. 709 of those collisions resulted in injuries, while 18 were reported as fatalities. The territory also incurred 79 DUI arrests and 2 impaired driving-related fatalities. By working together, Commissioner Vellner and the Office of Highway Safety are encouraging the public to practice safe driving by complying to the traffic rules and regulations, which can reduce crashes, save lives, and prevent injuries in our community. Continue to follow the COVID-19 protocols to protect you and your family's health. Remember to always be vigilant and to put safety first by planning a safe way home before you start to drink. If you plan to go out and enjoy the evening with alcohol, select a designated driver. Join us in helping to keep everyone safe on the road. This message is brought to you by the Virgin Islands Police Department and the Virgin Islands Office of Highway Safety.
The Virgin Islands Police Department police officers and civilian support staff provide services to the general public 24/7. This department has the responsibility to provide professional service to you at all times. The VIPD is working harder to meet that goal. Please get into the habit of using the compliment forms to commend officers who provide a quality standard of service. It's a morale booster for the recipient. If an officer or civilian needs to improve their customer service, feel free to submit a complaint form. Compliment and complaint forms are available in the lobby of all police stations, at public libraries, some government businesses, and from any patrol officer. Desk officers can also assist you to complete this form. Secure drop boxes are at all police station lobbies. Just insert your form, and internal affairs agents will process your complaint or compliment impartially and fairly. This message is brought to you by the Virgin Islands Police Department.
The VIPD Firearms Investigation Unit enforces the rules and regulations, laws, policies, and procedures that govern the licensing of firearms within the U.S. Virgin Islands. It is also responsible for ensuring that applicants are properly investigated and meet all the qualifications required by law prior to being granted a firearms license. The unit is also responsible for court presentations and home and business inspections. The unit is the record keeper of all firearm registrations in the territory. The Firearms Unit recommends that you do not bring your mainland licensed firearm into our islands if you will be visiting without contacting the Firearms Unit. Bringing unlicensed firearms into the territory will result in those firearms being confiscated, and you may be prosecuted in accordance to the laws of the U.S. Virgin Islands. When traveling to the United States Virgin Islands, our law requires that if you come into the U.S. Virgin Islands with a firearm, you must immediately contact the Firearms Unit at 340-778-2211 or 340-774-2211. You will be arrested if you are found in possession of an unregistered firearm.
Crime Stoppers USVI. If someone provides information to Crime Stoppers that leads to an arrest, does that person have to come forward at trial to testify? And two, if they do not come forward to testify, how is the individual prosecuted in a court of law?
No, you are not required to testify, and many tipsters that have provided tips in the past that have led to arrests, the arrestee has been convicted and has been sentenced based on Crime Stopper tips. So warrants can be secured based on Crime Stopper tips as well as sentencing. So you do not have to testify. Submitting the tip will, at that point, relinquish you from anything further. We do have some tipsters that do want to testify. They do get the reward and they testify, but it is not a prerequisite.
Crime Stoppers VI at 1-800-222-TIPS or online at www.crimestoppersvi.org. I'm Glenn Drake for Crime Stoppers and the VIPD.
Now we go to Toby Derima, Public Information Officer for the VIPD.
On July 1st at approximately 8:18 a.m., the 911 Emergency Call Center received multiple reports of shots being fired in the Walter I. M. Hodge Pavilion housing community. Several witnesses reported that several black males in a vehicle entered into the housing community and began damaging a vehicle. According to the witnesses, the owner of the vehicle, later identified as 22-year-old Jahaman Bruce of Walter I. M. Hodge Pavilion, appeared on the scene with a firearm, at which time the males who damaged the vehicle began shooting at him. Bruce returned fire, prompting the group of males to leave the area in their vehicle. A female bystander received a gunshot wound to the back and was transported to the Juan F. Luis Hospital and Medical Center via private vehicle. The victim underwent surgery and was listed in stable condition. Bruce admitted to detectives that he fired the gun and was placed under arrest around 10:30 a.m., charged with carrying a firearm openly or concealed. Bail for Bruce was set at $50,000. He was unable to post bail and was turned over to the custody of the Bureau of Corrections pending his advice of rights hearing. On July 6 at approximately 11:24 a.m., two men reported being robbed in the vicinity of the Cheeseburgers in Paradise restaurant. The victims reported that a tall and slender black male approached them with a gun and demanded money. The victims explained that they complied with the suspect's demand as the suspect pointed a firearm at them during the robbery. The suspect left the area. None of the victims were injured during this incident. This case is under investigation. If you have information about this incident, please tell police what you know by calling 911, the crime tip line at 340-778-4950, or anonymously to Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS. On July 4th at approximately 6 p.m., detectives of the Criminal Investigation Bureau arrested Valmon Glassford, age 22 of Patriot Manor, on a warrant for third-degree assault, brandishing and exhibiting a firearm, illegal discharge of a firearm, and possession of an unlicensed firearm. Glassford admitted to assaulting the victim with a firearm at the American Yacht Harbor parking lot in Red Hook between midnight and 1 a.m. This case is presently under investigation. Anyone with information regarding this crime is urged to contact 911, the Criminal Investigation Bureau at 340-774-2211, or Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS. On July 1st at about 10:37 a.m., the 911 Emergency Call Center received a report of a robbery in progress at Caribbean Grocery in Williams Delight. Officers who traveled to the scene were told that two masked men entered the establishment with a gun. The suspects demanded the owner to give them all the money out of the register. They took the money along with numerous AT&T cell phone cards and left the business without further incident. One of the suspects, a black male, wore a blue bandana on his face and wore dark-colored clothing. The second suspect, also a black male, wore dark clothes with a red bucket hat. The suspects fled to the rear of the store and in an easterly direction into Williams Delight. Detectives are asking for any information regarding this robbery. If you saw something, say something to police by calling 911, the crime tip line at 340-778-4950, or Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-8477, where there is a monetary reward for information leading to the arrest of the suspects. On July 4th at about 11:48 a.m., the 911 emergency call center received reports of shots being fired in the Smithfield Two Brothers area, just east of Walter I. M. Hodge Pavilion. Officers traveled to the scene and discovered an adult black male who sustained multiple gunshot wounds about his body. Emergency medical technicians on the scene made a check of the victim and concluded that he had no vital signs. He was identified by next of kin as 23-year-old Nathaniel Haywood of Walter I. M. Hodge Pavilion. This case remains under active investigation. If you know something about this incident, please say something to police by calling 911, the crime tip line at 340-778-4950, or anonymously to Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS. On July 1st at around 12:42 a.m., detectives of the Criminal Investigation Bureau were notified to travel to Scion Farm, where a residence was impacted by gunshots. The homeowner reported that her family members were asleep when they were awakened by loud gunfire and the sounds of bullets hitting the house. The residents took evasive measures to avoid getting injured by the gunfire. No one in the home was injured. There was bullet damage at the front of the house and bullet holes in the windows and interior walls. This incident is under investigation. The VIPD is asking for anyone with information about this shooting to call 911, the crime tip line at 340-778-4950, or Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS. On July 2nd at approximately 10:15 a.m., police arrested Rakeem S. Swanston, age 20. The next day at around 10:15 a.m., his brother, Zomari K. Swanston, age 30, was also placed under arrest. Both men of estate whim were charged with third-degree assault, reckless endangerment, carrying a firearm openly or concealed, aiming and discharging a firearm, and possession of ammunition. The Swanston brothers were identified as shooters in an incident which resulted in a woman being shot at the Walter I. M. Hodge Pavilion housing community on July 1st. Bail for Rakeem Swanston was set at $75,000, while bail for Zomari Swanston was set at $25,000. None of the men were able to post bail, and they were subsequently turned over to the custody of the Bureau of Corrections, pending their advice of rights hearings. On July 1st at approximately 8:30 p.m., the 911 emergency call center dispatched officers to the Roy Lester Schneider Hospital emergency room for a gunshot victim. The victim reported that he arrived at his residence in hospital ground and observed two males dressed in dark clothing sitting outside. The victim stated that one of the suspects approached him in a threatening manner and an altercation ensued between him and both suspects. The suspects assaulted the victim with a metal pipe to the head during the altercation, then shot him in the torso. The victim was transported to the hospital via private vehicle for treatment and was listed in stable condition. This case is under investigation. Anyone with information is urged to contact police by calling 911, the Criminal Investigation Bureau at 340-774-2211 extension 5610, or Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS. This is Toby Derima, Public Information Officer for the Virgin Islands Police Department. On July 5th at approximately 5:01 a.m., the 911 emergency call center dispatched officers to the Weymouth-Reimer Highway in the area of the Duno Road intersection to a report of an automobile collision. Upon arrival, officers found evidence of a collision between a minivan and a motorcycle. The body of an unresponsive male was lying in the eastbound lane. Investigation revealed that the minivan was traveling west on the roadway as the motorcycle traveled east. The vehicles collided and the motorcyclist was thrown from the motorcycle as a result of the collision. Emergency medical technicians on the scene concluded that the rider of the motorcycle had no signs of life. The driver of the minivan was transported to the Roy Lester Schneider Regional Medical Center for treatment and released. The rider of the motorcycle was identified as 32-year-old Rudy Jean. This case is under investigation. If you have information that can help police find out what happened, please call 911 or the Traffic Investigation Bureau at 340-774-2211. This is Toby DeRima, Public Information Officer for the Virgin Islands Police Department.
You've been listening to VI Caribbean Connection Headline News on WSTA Radio and FocusVI.com.